We got Clint Bundrick, who's the design director at Microsoft Studios.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming out. I think Crackdown is a game that both Bernie and I really enjoy. It's a franchise we love. So we've been super excited about Crackdown 3, and we're eager to learn more about what's coming.
Very influential franchise in the history of our company in a lot of different ways. It's like we get associated with Halo because of Red versus Blue and Rooster Teeth.
Of course.
But Crackdown was really instrumental in inspiring us to get started on gameplay recording of video gameplay. I remember there's like our guy Jeff who runs Achievement Hunter, our gaming division. You remember his story with Crackdown?
No, what was it?
He played the entire way through the first campaign without knowing you could lock onto enemies. So he was manually aiming at everything while flying through the sky and everything. And I was like, I wish I could have seen this idiot playing this game like this. And then of course the Collectibles, which I think the Crackdown franchise took to the next level. It's just, we got so into Collectibles with the orbs and then the hidden orbs and everything. It just became such a badge of honor if you found all 300 of the orbs in the original Crackdown.
So can you confirm? Yeah. Will there be orbs in Crackdown 3?
You'll see them on the show floor right now.
Yeah.
Nice.
They are absolutely in there.
There's at E3 there's always like cool like little items, and I've seen actual physical Crackdown orbs.
I've signed a couple of those.
Are those
so
like,
jealous.
like fan made, like people made them?
No, they're giving them out. Yeah.
Oh, holy crap!
Yeah.
I don't even have one.
Where's your booth?
That's the way it works, isn't it? Yeah, that's the way it works.
So we've been getting teased with Crackdown 3 for a while. What's the latest? Like, what's changed? What are the new things that you're showing off now?
So we're here at E3 to show the campaign experience for the very first time. Our campaign experience is playable offline and single player or online for 4-player co-op. We've talked a lot about destruction in the past and our cloud compute, how that gives you 100% destructible environments. That's our competitive multiplayer experience, still absolutely part of Crackdown 3. You're going to be learning a lot more about that in the future, but we wanted to come and show campaign for the first time.
So, okay, I have a lot of questions there, but it sounds like you're talking about those later.
A big reveal about the new iteration of the game in the press conference was, at least for me, I didn't know that Terry Crews was a voice actor in it. Can you talk a little bit about that, about working with Terry Crews?
I think we all got really excited. Like, we saw Terry Crews come out, and we all said, perfect.
It just seems like a perfect fit. Yeah, when you see it.
He is a perfect fit with his energy and his presence. He's a real-life agent. And he loves games. He's used them to connect to his sons. They're kind of near and dear to his heart. He's been a great partner. And a funny story, when we were on set shooting that, and he's running around doing his thing and flexing and being Terry Crews,
right.
He kept breaking the suit.
Oh my God!
Panels would break and flip up and cover his face, and somebody have to come out and glue him back down. And that gun he's carrying is not CG. We built it. And when we first saw it, we're like, that's a big gun. That's huge. And then you get in his arms, and you're like, that's about right, actually.
It's like Master Chief in the armor kind of thing. It's
Exactly.
like surprising when you see it. Yeah, it's great because like the energy of Terry Crews and just his personality, it just seems like such a perfect fit for Crackdown. It's like even when he finishes, his lines, then watching the characters jump up the building, I'm like, makes total sense, And it was such a great moment too to see in the reveal trailer when everyone's soaring to the sky, the 4 different agents that are playing together and they're just jumping. I'm just dying to get back in and play this.
Yeah, I mean it's been really exciting, letting people get hands-on with campaign for the first time. And one thing about Terry Crews, he is also a playable character.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So I guess his Commander Jackson character.
Yeah, he is a playable character in campaign as well.
And do you guys have the art aesthetic, the visual look of Crackdown? I mean, do you guys have a special name for it? Because it seems almost like a hybrid between a couple different things, like some cell shaded, but also like just some other like more flat 2D renderings. I mean, how did you describe this visual aesthetic? We
describe it internally as the living graphic novel.
Oh yeah,
that's always been our term. And Crackdown's this crazy bombastic game. It's about a character where at the beginning of the game you move and you jump, but within a couple hours you're jumping over entire skyscrapers. At level 1 strength you're throwing rocks or trash cans, but 2 hours in you're throwing giant fuel trucks. It's just this big bombastic sandbox, and that kind of living graphic novel style brings it to life. Have
you talked about the way you're mentioning here how your powers increase over time and your strength increases? Is that going to stay largely the same tried and true formula that we all love?
I mean, we absolutely use that as a base. I mean, we wanted to take Crackdown back to its roots. We wanted to bring it so it's all about dismantling this criminal empire, which I can talk about in a minute. But in terms of the skills for kill systems, what you're talking about, it gives you that exponential power curve. You get orbs for everything you do. The system, we use that as the foundation, but we also wanted to bring in new abilities. So, for example, with agility, we've given you a double jump. We've given you an air burst. And Crackdown is this vertical platformer.
Very vertical game, yeah.
It's kind of, buildings as puzzles. You see that orb, and you're like, I don't know if I can get there yet, but someday I will be able to.
Yep.
And these abilities now give you more ways to do that. And we're seeing people use them in ways I didn't even expect. I've seen people jump off a building, fire a rocket, double jump, fire another rocket, and then airburst backwards back onto the roof they just left. And so I'm seeing people play it even on the show floor in ways I haven't seen before, and that's what I love about Crackdown. You just give players the tools, and they kind of create their own chaos, their own path through the game.
Have you seen anything yet that you think you're going to need to nerf? Like, oh no, we can't let that slip through.
Oh no, I mean Crackdown is the OP game. So for example, there's a weapon that's in the show floor. There's a tiny shot of it in the trailer that's called the Singularity Gun. So that creates black holes. But because it's Crackdown.
Yeah, of course. Why not?
And because everything in Crackdown is physical, and Crackdown's about breaking off props and using them to bash people and do that kind of thing. That Singularity Gun, those black holes interact with it. So when you create a black hole, it sucks in cars and enemies and props, and they collide and do all kinds of damage, and then they go flying outward. We have a monorail line that runs through the world that has monorail carriages on it. That black hole will rip those monorail carriages off and send them flying, and then you can pick up the monorail carriages and throw them at people. Like, it's the original Crackdown was one of the first games I remember of people creating YouTube videos of them kind of creating their own stunts, and co-op obviously is a huge part of that. And we just wanted to give the players even more tools to play the games in ways we didn't expect.
Now, what you're talking about when players start to play the game, once you push it live to millions of people, stuff just comes out of the woodwork you never expected. It's one of the bittersweet things I've noticed about being a game developer. I'm not a game developer myself, but watching other people do it, is that you guys are the best people in the world at this game for about 12 hours, and then it's
if
over.
that.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, I'll say this. So yesterday, we released like a 10-minute playthrough of the show floor demo, and that's me playing. And that was one of my best playthroughs, and it was about a 26,000 playthrough. I think the max I've gotten is 29,000 because it's a skills for kills challenge we're doing on the show floor. There's been a player on Twitter who's come back over and over again, and he is almost beaten me.
Oh my God, he's cycling through.
Correct.
At E3. Wow.
At E3.
Waiting
so
in line.
12 hours is probably a friendly guess.
Yeah. It'll be like shortly after the midnight launch, they'll be out there like destroying your records.
Exactly.
So is the campaign still very much like you see, like non-linear? You see what you want to do and kind of head in different directions, see what kind of trouble you end up in?
So the entire city is available from the beginning.
Oh, really?
This is a brand new city. It's called New Providence. It's more than twice the size of the original city. The tallest building is the Kingpin Tower. That is twice as tall as the tallest building in the original. Wow. So the verticality is insane. And the game is about dismantling this criminal empire called Terra Nova. When you arrive on the island, you don't really know much about this island. You just know that it's completely controlled by this empire. There's no agency presence there. But it's Crackdown. Players can go anywhere. They can dismantle that organization in any way they want. They can go right after the Kingpin right from the start. They're going to be underleveled. It's going to be incredibly hard, but I'm sure players will figure it out probably within an hour of launch.
Oh, that'll be a badge of honor, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And then people doing crazy things in co-op, and so that's what I love about these kinds of games. We give the players the tools, and they kind of create their own experience in many ways.
It sounds like it's the kind of game that would lend itself well to like speed runs, where people are like, since everything's wide open from the beginning, people are going to go and just try to figure out like the most optimal way to get through it and show off tricks to get through and finish the game as quickly as possible.
I feel like even there's like a mini version of that in Crackdown 2 with the design of the moving orbs, where you have to like cut them off and like find the best path, and it becomes like a mini version of what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yep. No, I completely agree, and I think, like I said, that's what I love about this kind of game. And as you spend time making these, and you release it to the fans, and I then immediately just go to all the different sites and I watch people play. And I want to see what they do. I want to see how they dismantle Terra Nova. And we have this other system that now sits on top of it. It's called Gangs Bite Back. So each one of our crime bosses has a thing in the world that they care about. They have a job to do within the organization. And the player's goal is to figure out what that is and how to exploit it. So you start attacking their businesses. You start disrupting their manufacturing, and it really pisses them off. And as you piss them off, they go through what we call escalations, which is them just adding reinforcements to their area, making the world more dangerous for you. Then they start doing retaliations. So these retaliations are where they actually send their enemies after you. And those can happen anywhere. and those are completely dynamic. So where you had a retaliation was completely different than when I had one, because you crossed a threshold in a different part of the city. You go through enough of those, and eventually those characters come after you. So you just keep pissing them off, keep attacking their business, and you draw them out. And again, those boss fights are completely dynamic. They can happen anywhere.
So these retaliations, are they almost set up like an ambush where you're just going about your business and all of a sudden this retaliation pops up?
We'll have some telegraphing around it, but yeah, it's certainly part of the experience where players are kind of poking at these gangs, and you know that eventually they're going to bite back. And the whole goal of that system is to make it so that every playthrough is different. That the way you dismantled Terra Nova was completely different than the way I did it, simply because where you were in the world and the choices you made got you a different response from Terra Nova.
And how do you approach story for Crackdown, like on a franchise level? Do you feel like you can do a new story every iteration, or do you feel compelled to like connect the stories between the different versions of the game?
So in this one, the story takes place more than 10 years after the events of Crackdown 2. There's been this massive global attack, and we're keeping a lot of our narrative details under wraps for this kind of initial reveal of campaign. But needless to say, agencies kind of thrust back into action. They trace that attack back to New Providence. They roll into New Providence with the hubris of the agency, right, with the VOA and everybody else. Like that's who they are. They expect the hero's welcome, and it doesn't necessarily go their way.
So I'm looking here at social media, and on Twitter, Sam1 the Man One, great Twitter name,
well done.
Wants to know a little more about the destructible buildings and multiplayer, if you're able to talk about that.
So we'll be talking a lot more about the competitive multiplayer experience very soon, but right now we were just focused on showing campaign for the first time.
I got you. Oh yeah, I'm really curious to learn more about everything.
Since orbs are everywhere, you mind if I ask an orb question? It's a very specific question.
Of course.
So we've made this conjecture that orbs are definitely in Crackdown 3.
Absolutely.
If they're there, can you still hear them?
Oh, yes.
Because that's like a Pavlovian thing with
There
me.
it is.
That sound is like when I hear it. It almost people in my house don't like it because I'm like, shh, 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 shh.
But follow-up question then.
What?
Do they appear on the map?
That's a good question. Generally, no. I actually like the idea of players having to find them. I think it's a big part of that experience of exploring the world. And now with this Gangs Bite Back system, as you explore the world, you find these bosses. You find things they care about. And orbs are a great way of encouraging players to explore. And the thing that's interesting about the orbs for me as well is you're kind of off doing one thing. You're like, all right, I'm going to go attack this Enforcer precinct, and I'm going to see if this is enough to draw out this boss fight. I don't know if it's going to be. We'll see. And you're halfway there, and you're like, oh, orb. And then you're just off on a completely different path. And that's what works so well with them.
Or you tell yourself, I'm going to remember where that was, and I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you never do.
Or like what I end up doing is I end up chasing the orb and then just derailing my story progress. Because then it's like, oh, I'm just going to look for orbs for the next half hour.
Right.
Yep.
And then, or you get one, you see one in the distance, like in the horizon on another building. So off you go.
You get one, and you're like, oh, if I get maybe 3 more, I'll level, and I'll hit level 4. Like, okay, that's all I'm going to do next for the 3 hours.
I think that's a sign of a great game is when you can get sucked into that little mechanic where you're just like, oh, just one more, just one more, just one more. And then the next thing you know, you've been playing the game for several hours.
Exactly. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to come over the top of that skills for kill system and kind of layer in some new abilities, right? So it wasn't just this exponential power curve. It was also like, not only am I getting faster, am I jumping higher, but I'm actually getting new ways to play. And we wanted to layer that in over the top of the skills for kill system.
Well, and I appreciate that you guys are, your philosophy of not putting the collectibles on the map, because there's just something special about that I think with the Crackdown franchise. And, we're talking about earlier about how some of the first gameplay videos, when that started, when people started doing Let's Plays or just posting, accomplishment videos. One of our guys had a great story from it, was he got 299 orbs. Couldn't find the 300th orb, and he was like, I swear, it's bugged. My save is bugged. I got to start over. Complained about it forever. And his wife goes, do you want me to look for it? And he goes, no. Okay, fine. He gives it to her. She found it in 30 seconds. And he'd been looking for it for like 2 weeks. And she just decided to look in a different direction and found it immediately.
It's all about that different perspective on the world.
It is.
Funny how
Fresh
that
eyes.
works.
Yeah. Yeah. She's never going to let him live that down, though. So.
No, but I agree. I think it makes it more satisfying when you're just working off of sound, or when you're really out there just trying to find it.
We say that now. But when we're playing after midnight launch, we'll be cursing you guys. So, speaking of launch and, when players get their hands on this and become the best players in the world, when is that going to happen?
November 7th.
November 7th. So this year we get a Crackdown title. That's amazing.
And it's on Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, Windows 10, and it's cross-play across all of those devices.
Okay, what does that mean with cross-play?
Means if you own it on Windows 10, you can play with somebody who's playing on Xbox One X.
Fantastic. That's awesome.
Well, I see we ran a poll here using Megaphone. We asked our viewers what their favorite power in Crackdown 3 will be, and by an overwhelming majority of 74% of the vote, it was agility.
Yes.
It's that verticality.
It is a vertical platformer.
Yep.
I think that's what, like we keep talking about it, but that's what sets Crackdown apart, and that's what I loved, and that's what sucked me in originally, is I'm normally not a fan of platformers, but I love being able to scale and go up and just, watch your powers progress, and like you said, do more and more, pick up bigger items, throw bigger things.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I think, too, with the agility in Crackdown, it works so well with all the other powers. Because this isn't a game about pixel hunting, this is a game about jumping over buildings and then while you're flying through the air, locking onto an enemy vehicle, sub-targeting the gas cap, shooting the gas cap, the vehicle goes flying through the air. And so agility modifies everything you do. And we always talk about, we don't want players on the ground. We want them on the rooftops. We want them jumping. We want them moving through the air. That is what makes Crackdown Crackdown.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's like everything we talked about, the verticality, the collectibles, and then to me, one of the things that really sets the franchise apart is the environment's like a character. Because of that verticality, it's like when you're looking around the city, you're looking at things that you want to conquer and fight, and those are buildings, and or level design, and that's really cool to me.
And now the world is way more vertical. Like I said, the tallest building is twice as tall as the tallest in the original. So you can imagine all the buildings between those heights. The world is massive and incredibly vertical.
And you mentioned it's going to be on Xbox One X. Do you have all the bells and whistles to take advantage of that?
4K, Atmos, and a game like this, I think it looks beautiful in 4K. And certainly, for those who have Atmos systems, the explosions and the just kind of bombastic nature of a game like this sounds pretty amazing.
Well, let's be honest. If you have Atmos, it makes listening to orbs even easier.
That's true.
It becomes crucial.
Yeah,
for your hunting.
Now I'm sold. All right, cool. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're all looking forward to Crackdown 3. Once again, what's the date when we can play?
November 7th.
November 7th.